Me too. That's why
Andrew's got to go out of the house to smoke. Sorry, dude.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. We're going to get started tonight. We're going to be talking about kind of an open topic, bunch of various different items. I guess we're going to start with the fact that on March 27th, the state was supposed to respond to. They were supposed to respond to the motion, Kathleen Zellner and Steven Avery's motion, and then because of the virus, it got extended to April 17th. So we were just kind of sitting here before we went live discussing that, and being that it's an open topic, we was going to see if anybody in the comment section has different topics they want to talk about within the Steven Avery case. But Milbillie and Jamie, how are y'all doing?
I'm fine.
Y'all making out good in the virus?
Yep, I'm being essential.
I know the feeling. Trust me. Jamie's talking on mute.
I haven't been to work in a few weeks, and I got one more to go.
Well, they'll probably extend it, won't they?
Don't know. It just depends on how the cases for Minnesota end up being. It's possible.
It's getting worse.
Yeah, it's definitely getting worse down here where I live. So
the owner of my work, he's stuck in Florida. He has a vacation home down there, and he went down there right before this shit hit the fan, and he's stuck down there.
Really?
Yep.
Well, yeah, Milbillie, you sound better too. Somebody said, said Milbillie looks better. Oh my, Jamie's bad or something. I don't know what she's trying to say. Probably the echoing or something.
Am I getting an echo? I can
Well,
put on.
I don't know who it was. I heard a little bit, but it wasn't.
It was when you turned your YouTube on your TV.
Oh yeah, that was echoing. I thought I had my volume turned down.
Okay, but
it's fixed. I'll grab my headphones just in case, anyways.
That's fine. So Milbillie, with all of the different evidence in the Steven Avery case, just to touch on a few different things. I mean, for instance, I've been curious about how do you think the state can respond to some of these different things that Kathleen has brought up? Let's take, the blood in the sink, for instance. You talked about earlier how because she's implying that the blood was taken from the sink to be planted into the RAB, that she said that law enforcement would be ruled out under that scenario. But you were brought up a very good point that not necessarily.
But she also made a tweet stating that the battery has been confirmed to come from a Manitowoc vehicle in the police department, sheriff's department.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, it depends on which part of this case you want to dive into, which part of the evidence.
Let's talk about the blood first. So, Steven Avery cut his finger on what day? 3rd.
Originally?
Well, when he bled in the sink.
Yeah, that was the 3rd.
Okay, November 3rd. And is that the same day that Colburn come out to originally talk to Steve? Okay.
The discrepancy is what time did that actually take place?
Okay.
And I've been pondering on why there's no audio for the 4th at all whatsoever. No dispatch calls, but we have dispatch logs for the 4th from dispatcher, but we don't have the actual call.
Okay. So what day was it that I'm probably after the 3rd, I'm not sure, but what day was it when law enforcement asked to just take a look around, like unofficially walk through his trailer and stuff?
That was on the 4th.
That was on the 4th. Okay.
That was Jennifer and James Link. But if you read the reports, they don't mention Link. Just like Colburn and Link are there when they find the key, but they don't mention Colburn and Link. They just mention Kaczarski. And why are they stating that they found these items the day before it's supposed to be discovered in the search warrants. They claim that they found the key on the 7th.
Right. I remember you pointing that out. I just read. Go ahead.
Just like Jerry Beauty and them tried to arguing all the search warrants too, and the judge denied everything.
Right.
Anything that would have benefited Steven Avery in any way, the judge denied.
That's absolutely correct. And
from the coroner's testimony, that being denied, anything, just like the jury requesting to see Bobby Dassey's statements again, that was denied.
Yep.
I mean, all aspects of this case, from the jury trial to, I mean, you got tampering with the jury going on. Nothing happens there. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. All the discrepancies and bullshit.
Well, I think that's 100% accurate because everybody that's watched the series and then that has dove even further into it, especially people like you and Jamie, I mean, just on a level, let's just say somebody just watched the show, you could clearly see a lot of bullcrap just from the show. But when you start diving into the case and you start really understanding that Manitowoc's supposed to be recused themselves from the investigation, but that's couldn't be further from the truth. And almost every key piece of evidence that is found or brought up in this case, I mean, they're there for every bit of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's crazy. And I did read I'm not sure if this is exactly what you was referring to, but I did read the motion to suppress that was written by Butin about the search warrants. And I thought he made great arguments because he was saying how the warrants, and he referred to other cases and other precedents from different various courts, that the warrants shouldn't and don't give you the right to re-enter buildings and property and all these different things 8 different times. And that's been litigated already in other cases. But yet they just took a warrants. They had a bunch of different warrants and just basically used them as coming and going as much as they want. And like the trailer, for instance, 6 or 7 of the first searches, their first walkthroughs, you know, the time they completely went through their search and nothing was found. But when it was, take the key, for instance, when the key was finally found, it was found by somebody that wasn't even supposed to be in the trailer, Lieutenant Link.
Well, just like in trial, even his attorneys bring up the fact that Calumet was there to babysit Manitowoc, but then they tried playing it off saying that Manitowoc was only there to supply equipment and personnel. But then you hear over dispatch calls that even Pagel saying that Manitowoc is leading the investigation, and that's after it's supposedly transferred to Calumet.
Yeah, I mean, the whole turning the investigation over to Calumet was just I mean, that was all talk. That's all that was.
Uyghur wants to claim that Steven Avery and Brendan Dassey had 5 days to clean up. Well, they had 5 days to frame Avery.
Exactly. And if you look at, which they're like, you know, the tips that keep coming into Zellner about all of the evidence and tips keep talking about the same 2 people, and then you can speculate who those 2 people are. But those people had access to the property. But if you look, none of the evidence was found in any of the initial searches. So who had the most access to roam freely throughout the entire property? The police.
Yep.
And that's why it's so troubling, is because,
like I said, if you look at the sign-in, sign-out sheets for November and match them with who came back in March, that's who's involved.
Has to be
100%. I mean, Uyghur, he's doing logs of everybody that's entering that property. He's reassigning people's shifts, so he makes sure that certain people are not on there. Like an officer calls in asking, he switched the shift with another officer, and they have a rookie officer that's supposed to be tagging that guy. But since he switched shifts, that guy's got to tag him now. And that can't happen. Why?
Because they need the most unexperienced ones
there so they don't get caught in what they're trying to do.
Why are the same people that are finding all this evidence the same ones processing it?
Right. Well, I think we know why. It's just why. I guess the real question would be,
why do I have so many whys?
yeah, and why was this allowed to happen? Yeah, exactly. And why was this allowed to happen? I don't understand.
Billion.
Yeah, but I'm saying how whoever is the top official, okay, in the investigation. I mean, supposedly it's supposed to be. What was it?
It comes down to two people: the sheriff and the district attorney.
Exactly.
That was who's going to be completely reliable for everything that took place in the 1985 case.
Absolutely. And I've said all along that the sheriff and district attorney, I know down here for sure the sheriff is the top dog down here. I'm sure it's like that in all counties and parishes, but I think more so down here, and maybe you could say so for y'all's parts of the country, but the sheriff, he gets his way no matter what down here. So, and they have great leverage that they can use in almost any case that they want to. But it's crazy about, like, I just find it hard to believe, for instance, that let's take the item FL for a minute. Let's say that they have the capabilities and to plant this type of evidence and all of this, but once something like item FL gets out there, and they take this bullet fragment and they put it into evidence and they say that this bullet has Teresa Halbach's DNA on it. Well, anybody with common sense, when they put it under the microscope and you can clearly see that it only has wood in it, small fragments of red paint chips, and some fibers. I mean, how does that not throw up a red flag? How does the state prosecute Avery with tainted evidence almost every step of the way?
Well, they spent $3.6 million to convict Steven Avery. He had what, $240,000 to defend himself?
Right.
You do the math. His attorneys even admit that they didn't do everything they should have. They didn't call on experts that they could have. They dropped the ball.
Dr. Siltman says tunnel vision from the get-go. And I think that pretty much sums it up.
Like I said, Manitowoc framed Steven Avery, Calumet kept it going.
Yep. And if you watch the series, which we all have, you probably wouldn't think nothing of it just going through when they say, do we have a body yet? And they was like, no, I don't think so. But do we have Steven Avery in custody? Like, if you hear that and you're just watching the show, you probably won't think twice about it. Maybe you will, but
I have all that audio, all the actual audio clips.
That's always been an important thing to me, because regardless of where she was at, before it was even really confirmed that Steven Avery was the last place that Teresa Halbach supposedly stopped at, Steven Avery, think of all the people that is on the property. Not to imply anybody at this point, well, just having a discussion. But if you say, Mom and Pop Avery, obviously they didn't have that to do with it.
It's not who's on the property. You got to look at who denied being on the property initially.
Right.
Robert Fabian and Mike Osmundson. They both deny being there. And Mike Osmundson is the huge red flag. He claims the only time he was there between the 31st and the 12th or the 14th was on the 11th. Or no, the 10th. How is that possible? Steven Avery is arrested on the 9th. How are you having this conversation with Steven Avery if he's incarcerated? And then in trial, you have Craig Kratz stating that conversation took place on what day?
I forgot, but
the 4th.
The 4th, right. And that's the conversation in Bobby Dassey's garage?
Apparently.
Right. So, it's just another example. But, yeah, absolutely. I noticed a lot of some things you gave me to read, and some things that I have read on my own. That's a common reoccurring thing in a lot of these case files on the Avery case is that, I mean, for instance, like you pointed out a while ago about the warrant, saying that the key and stuff was found on the wrong day. I mean,
in multiple different papers, different warrants, the date for the RAV changes.
Exactly. And
so from a 99 to a 98 to a 97, and then last page, it's a 94 now.
Right.
And these are
yeah, and
warrant documents.
I've seen
typos.
And when I was reading that motion from Buden, I noticed that, for instance, in the missing poster, it was referred to as a dark green RAV. In the Miss Karen Hallbach referred to it as green. Pam Stern, everybody referred to it as green, and then Stern says it's more blue than green. And then I noticed in the motion to suppress, when we're talking about the warrants in the RAV, that all of a sudden Mark Wiegert is referring to the RAV as a dark blue in color.
Well, just like, for instance, on the day she's reported missing, why is Steven Avery being referred to as her friend by the dispatcher? The dispatcher clearly states, she's been to 2 places in Manitowoc, one being Steven Avery, her friend. The other one is George Zipperer, but Dietering's on his way over there now because he got an attorney.
Huh.
I'm just, like, for instance, you read Queso. How does it start out? Leslie Muir responded at 5 p.m. They don't talk about her being reported missing. They completely leave that out. In the search warrant, they claim that she was reported missing at 5 p.m. That's false. She called at 2:37.
It's one big inaccuracy.
The fact that Manitowoc's times are not stamped at all. That's huge. Because if we knew what time Wiegert called on the 3rd, it'd be so telling. Because they're trying to cover up 3 hours of missing time. Wow.
It brings up what Silkman had said earlier. If you control the evidence, you control the outcome. Absolutely. And that's 100% true here. That's exactly what they did. Quick question though: Have you guys watched the new drug documentary, How to Fix a Drug Scandal, yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay, it's on Netflix, and I've got to read.
I haven't been able to do anything.
Well, Essential Milbillie. Hey, that's your new name. The only reason I bring it up is because if you watch that, there's a lawyer in here, and I don't want to give too much away about it, but everybody here that's digging into this case, looking at stuff, it's not all for nothing. The lawyer that was looking into this for his client, he did exactly what we want all attorneys, lawyers to do, and it's digging to find what are the missing pieces, and he found them. And you guys won't believe the outcome. I was actually at the end of that. I'm sitting there. I was just happy as could be, and it ties into this as far as evidence goes, that they're hiding stuff. We just hope that Kathleen has gotten all of it now, and she's found the missing pieces that we need. Well, that's all we can hope for.
Like Cuss Road, all these photos we have are the day after its discovery.
Yep.
After they already fucked with the crime scene. They wouldn't let the dogs go there.
Yeah. And I watched some of your Cuss Road stuff, and it's crazy. I mean, that whole thing is a mystery in itself. The entire.
You look at the Manitowoc's report, you look at Calumet's report for that day, and then you listen to the audio, man, you get a completely different story.
All right. But I wanted to allude back to what you was talking about right before Cuss Road, when you was talking about referring to Steven as a friend. I wonder what about October 31st was the day, and obviously I'm speaking hypothetically. I wonder what about October 31st made Steve say, okay, well, today's the day I'm going to kill her, when she had been out there, 6 previous times? I mean, that's one thing that I've always thought about is,
Steven Avery killer.
well, I know that, but I'm just saying, because I always like to think from both sides to try to figure it out.
You think if he wanted to do that, he had her personal number. He could have easily called her directly.
Exactly.
But no, he chose to call Auto Trader because he was just trying to sell the van. Just like he did previous times, trying to make money, trying to get money so he can pay off Jody's debt so she can get released faster. You listen to the first jail calls we got, and that's all he's bitching about is money. Money, 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 money. Then she brings up the fact that he bought the TV. And he said, yeah. Well, can you eat the TV? He said, I sure will.
I'm just reading through some of the comments to make sure anybody didn't have any questions.
This audio, but to actually take what they're saying down and piece everything together, like I have, the reason I say things I say is because all the research I've done. It'd take me forever to explain each aspect of why I think each thing. It's everything all together.
T1 says,
at the end of the day, it's just my opinion.
Well, I think if you start putting evidence behind it, it kind of takes more of a shape of being true than just an opinion.
The funny thing is, though, I was talking about Cuss Road before we got any of these damn photos.
Yeah, I mean,
that's true.
I haven't been into this as long as you guys have, but you definitely been talking about it as long as I stepped into this.
I mean, I did my first Cuss Road video, I think, 12 months ago?
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I would say, honestly, Milbillie, I think if I remember back in time, I think it was 2 Novembers ago you were asking the questions about Cuss Road.
Yeah, for a while I was just in Eric Jose's chat.
Yep.
Perplexing QTs, just asking questions, and for the most part, I was being ridiculed. Every time I bring something up, they say, "Where's this at in queso?" Some people treat queso as a Bible. Like you believe that Steven Avery's innocent, but then you're going to believe all the reports? The fuck out of here.
Well, if they're going to frame and you're going to manipulate evidence, you wouldn't be able to believe every bit of the reports. Like
Colburn, he doesn't file his report of talking to Steven Avery till 8 months after the fact that he's instructed to.
There's like
remember
one paragraph
thing that happened, but when they ask him what he did on the 4th, he can't remember.
Yeah, well, he did remember at one point because he said something. I think it was Colburn. I could be wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Colburn, wasn't he the one that said Avery said he didn't talk to her at all or something, or was that somebody else?
Oh, I never heard that.
Yeah, it was in the documentary. One of them said that when they initially talked to Avery said that she came out there and did her stuff, but he didn't really speak to her.
Changing people's statements.
Right.
That's the thing. When you read queso, it's a summary of what they say took happen. We don't have to see the actual officer reports or the interview. They're suppressing so much shit. I guarantee everybody they talked to, they recorded their interview. Just like the events of the 27th of February. They take Brendan to school, interview him in the conference room. They then take him to Two Rivers Police Department and videotape his interview. And prior to talking to Bobby Dassey, they all get a powwow and re-watch Brendan's interview and then talk to Bobby Dassey. So the question is, what did Brendan Dassey say in that interview? Did he implicate his brother?
I don't know.
Why does Brendan make the statement in March 1st that, he was mad because she wouldn't put his blazer in the magazine? Steven's blazer was already put in the magazine. Steven didn't have a blazer to be put in the magazine. Who drives a blazer? Who got rid of their blazer? Why do you crush your blazer to destroy it when your grandparents own a junkyard?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Bobby Dassey, his statements are sketchy as fuck. Then you look at Mike O, something just ain't adding up.
Well, I noticed Bobby Dassey has some inconsistencies with some of his actual trial testimony as well.
Why do we only have access to his 2017 interview? Why is his November 9th interview being suppressed?
There's obviously a reason. I mean, we know that, but you're right. I mean, that there needs to be a way for the public to be able to see that.
The new trial or evidentiary hearing. That's why we can't get access to these things, and that's why Zellner can't access to them, because it's sealed until it's brought up in a new trial.
So Zellner, because I'm not always...
Zellner can't get access to the RAV, the light. The light is in a bag inside the RAV. The RAV is sealed, so she can't get anything that's in it.
So, Milbillie, I'm not clued up on court processes and stuff. So, even Zellner can't get access to
the most important piece of evidence in this case, the RAV4. That's right, 100%.
For testing or anything, she cannot get access to it.
That's why she went out and bought her own RAV4 to do the tests that she did to recreate what she think happened.
Right.
She was in talks with the state to get access to the RAV, and Judge Suckowitz decided to dismiss her motion. But then that was a huge brief too. And then her next motion, she delays it and delays it and delays it, and then doesn't even address the issues.
Right. And then Zellner counters that with a I forgot what you call it, but like a motion of her own, saying that the judge didn't even address all of the key points and with the evidence and Brady violations, etc.
Well, she spent more time on why she shouldn't be recused from the case.
Yeah. Well, I mean, isn't Sekowicz, isn't that the same judge that was involved with the...
She was the one that was going to be in charge of the civil suit brought up by the Hallbox.
Against Avery.
The question is, well, the Hallbox decided to drop their civil suit, but Judge Sekowicz was trying to get them to keep it going.
Right.
Was she trying to get the truth to come out? Is she her hands tied? I mean, all these people are connected, all of them.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I mean, it's like that in counties all across this country, I would, bet on. So, and I think it all boils down to social status and, connections and the network of people that run these towns. And it's like, it's one big,
I mean, you would just look at all, she's got the butt voicemail call about the bones. She's got the fact that they DVD, Dassey's search records, all computer shit, didn't have access to that. Ineffective of counsel, Brady violations. I mean, she's got so much.
Right. She does. I mean, I was thinking about that today. The Brady violations and all of the evidence.
Her job is not to find out who killed Teresa Hallbach. Her job is to get Steven Avery out of prison.
That's what she's hired to do. But she did say she does want to find out who killed, who did it.
Yes, the truth always gonna come out. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, Jamie, why don't you chime in? I ain't heard anything from you in a while. You still okay over there?
Yeah, I'm just listening and watching the chat. I was watching some of the comments from some of the people here. Some of them are pretty funny, but some good ones in here too that I was just looking at. I'm trying to find the one here from Soapman. That was another good one that he had.
I know T1 was telling Milbillie happy birthday. I think T1 wanted to come on and sing Milbillie happy birthday or something.
I think that's an amazing idea. We'll even let him do it in sign language.
Right.
No, Silkman had said he had said on here there it is. Then on the drug scandal one, it's a mirror image to what happened to Steven. Massive cover up, and it shows the limiting on letting the state fail in these cases. So and that's what kind of why I brought it up about this one for people that haven't seen it. It does tie into this, and you'll see why it is important. And hopefully, that's where Kathleen has got all her ducks in a row, so to speak.
Who's to say that somebody from the Manitowoc Sheriff's Department had a prisoner released just to do something?
Go ahead, Jamie.
I didn't quite hear what Milbillie was saying.
I mean, how corrupt that sheriff's department is. Who's to say that they didn't have a prisoner released to do them a favor?
Oh, sure. Yep.
I mean, there's so many theories you can go rabbit holes, jump down them all day.
I said that all along, Milbillie. I mean, it's hard for us people that make videos to actually go watch every single video that somebody else does, and we'll tune in. But so you might not have heard me say this, but I've said all along that Kasurik, even though he was retired, because he was coming up in the depositions in Avery's lawsuit, and then you had Vogel right behind him.
Well, Kasurik tried getting out of it. His attorney emailed asking for him to postpone or reschedule his deposition, and they're like, no, you have to show up, you have to do this.
Right.
And then what happens? Teresa Halbach goes missing.
And I've said all along that I think
so then he can't be there for the depositions. Then they convince him to drop his fucking lawsuit. Worst mistake he ever made.
Yes, and the thing, but like I was trying to say, the Kasurik, I mean, I don't think a lot of people would like to believe just right off the bat that any of the police officers, not to say it can't happen, but any of the police officers would have murdered Teresa Halbach.
It's Sheriff Peterson stating that it'd be easier to kill him.
Right. Exactly.
You're a fucking sheriff. Why are you even saying these things? Like when he was on Dr. Phil, he put his foot in his mouth.
Absolutely. I was thinking about that yesterday too. I was actually rewatching some of Making a Murderer, and believe it or not, and
season 1 and season 2 one time.
I know you did, but I was actually rewatching some of it, and when Peterson came on there, I thought about that Dr. Phil interview when he slips up and says, "Yeah, we knew about the phone call with Coburn, but even back then, you know." And I think Zellner even mentioned that.
Does that not tell you about the cockiness that they have? That they don't even care when they do slip up, that they're not going to admit that they made a mistake.
No, well, they don't have to, because there won't be any consequences from the attorney general or high up. They're not going to condemn any of their actions or anything like that. I mean, that was proven in the 85 case that when all of that was looked into, and they just basically slapped them on the wrist and said, well, they could have looked into other people more, but they really didn't mean any harm.
Like I said, nobody's ever been charged for that, ever.
Yep.
But a man spent 18 years of his life for something he didn't do. The press wants to argue, 6 of it was justified because of the Sandra Morris case. But then you think about it, those cases run concurrent. That's why when he was released from prison, they dropped all charges. That's why he did the gun charge. That's why they're looking at anything to get him in jail, and then they found that one loophole.
Yeah, I think, don't you?
You got to look at Uyghur. He's the first person to contact in Manitowoc, Andrew Colburn. He's just gave a deposition for Steven Avery 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
Who do you think he called next?
Lieutenant Link?
or Kukurik.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Kukurik or Kusurik, however you want to say it, pretty sure he was high on the list of people that Uyghur was going to call, Remaker was going to call and discuss it to.
I believe he signs in and sign in, sign out sheets on the night of the 5th.
Who's that?
The sheriff.
Kusurik?
I believe so.
But he was retired at the time, wasn't he?
Or it might have been. It was one of them. It's
Couldn't have been Kusurik.
It's written right in there. I read it with my own eyes. I might have the date wrong. Just like Dennis Jacobs calling in to Calumet because he just talked to his neighbor. Well, his neighbor is Dennis Jacobs.
Right. I remember you telling me that.
Sure. Like as soon as Dennis Jacobs died, what do the Kukuriks do? They wrote something on his obituary and then they deleted it. Why?
I remember you talking about that the last time we got together.
They're referencing all the pizza parties they used to have all the time. He just dropped like a fly. No reason why he died. And he's already been cremated and disposed of. So we will never know. Was he taken out? Does he know too much?
Well, 3 years ago, I would talk like that. I would just let roll right off my shoulder. But ever since I started looking into any of this stuff, it absolutely just has opened my mind completely to things that I wouldn't think is possible a couple years ago.
Well, it definitely makes you think about corruption, how deep it goes in some places and how little it is in others.
Oh, there's more. It doesn't matter to walk than just the Steven Avery case. You can go all the way to the 20s.
Yep.
And it's still continuing happening to this day.
Absolutely.
Like people that should have a criminal history, everything's gone.
Right. Thomas likes to refer to, people that should have been stopped long before they were. For instance, like Gregory Allen. He calls it kind of like the Gregory Allen syndrome, where he just keeps getting these offenses and nothing ever happens to him. You know, he keeps getting caught with looking in on women and exposing himself and doing this and that, but he never gets real solid convictions.
Well, you gotta look at who's prosecuting him.
No, absolutely. So I often refer to the case in South Louisiana where the 8 women were murdered and their pimp, was running drugs and stuff, and you have the warden of this prison that's involved with a lot of evidence pointing to him that he's involved with murdering these women as well. And then you have other cops there's a lot of evidence that implicates those cops in destroying evidence to cover all of this up. Well, the main pimp, he's been arrested 23 times on serious charges, and he has 0 convictions. And they're asking in this documentary, Murder in the Bayou, they're asking some of these officers, why is that? And they say, our job is to arrest, not to prosecute. So you have to talk to the prosecutor. So, it clearly, they're basically saying, we arrested him. They didn't convict him or didn't prosecute him. So then you start looking and understanding when watching that documentary that it's an informant situation that's going on, and certain people are protected, but they're allowed to be out on the street committing crimes and doing things to harm people that the regular person like me or you would be thrown under the prison for.
Speaking of informants, it happened here to one of my friends. His brother was killed by the Drug Enforcement Task Force here in Milwaukee. An informant had gave false information that his brother was a drug dealer, and they ended up killing him.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, before some of the
informant gave false statements, pointed out a random person and said, "Oh, that's where I get my stuff from." So he starts getting chased by unknown vehicles because they're undercovers, doesn't know what the fuck's going on, minding his own business. He's not a drug dealer. And they end up trying to do a pit maneuver. He ends up crashing into a tree, gets injured from the impact to the tree, and they lit his car up.
Huh. Started opening fire on the car?
Yeah, lit him up.
He didn't have a gun or anything. They just started shooting.
Yep.
I mean, it's
His
just
family's still fighting for justice. This happened about 2 years ago.
And that happened, you said in Milwaukee?
In Milwaukee.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's numerous cases once you start looking into these things. I mean, there's cases just everywhere.
The other day, the DEA tried stopping a fugitive that was responsible for a murder that happened in North Dakota. They tried arresting him. He fled, and he ended up crashing into he ran a red light and crashed into an innocent person driving and killed them both.
What case was that one, Milbillie?
It happened yesterday.
Really? I'll have to look that up.
Well, I know for a fact that down here in New Orleans, before all this virus stuff started happening, that they actually told the cops, do not pursue anybody in high-speed chases, basically just to let them go. And the only reason was because so many innocent people were dying in these.
They used to have that here too, but then all these punk little kids kept stealing cars, and they'd get caught and then shot in their hand, released right out the door like nothing happened, just to go do it again. So that actually made it a felony now.
Well, I'm not sure what. I mean, if you're gonna.
There's been a few instances where the police were chasing a suspect and the police crashed and an officer died. Here. I mean, I see it all the time. Cars flying down by my work, and I see a cop stop, get out, pull out the spike strips, but I've never actually seen them able to deploy them because the person that's running from them always seems to avoid it.
Right.
Like there's multiple times I've seen cars fly past my work going like 100 miles per hour down a residential street. A couple hours later, that same vehicle I just seen getting chased by police is now being on the back of a tow truck completely demolished. People around here, they drive like it's a video game. It's sad.
I seriously thought you were going to say the guy pulled through the drive-through.
No, just like off topic, but the other night I'm on my way home from work. I'm doing the speed limit, 55. A car, black 4-door sedan, comes flying past me at like 100 something. I'm like, damn. Well, I continue driving. About 5 minutes down the road, I see that same car stuck up on the hill in a field. He lost control of his car, ended up in the field, and hit a tree. He was trying to get out the grass. He was stuck, but the sheriff pulled up and busted his ass.
Well, look, Dr. Siltman put a comment in here. He says, Fassbender was clearly in her ear about the desired forensic outcomes in the case. Unbelievable the judge didn't throw out the case due to implied corruption by the lead investigator and the lead tech. I have to go back to the comment section to read. I'm assuming he's talking about Sherry Cohen.
Yes.
When you look at the statements that they made in the pre-trial to the trial, their statements completely changed. Even Steven's attorneys tried addressing that issue, and the judge ignores everything.
And that was the first time that deviation had to be filed to be able to use that evidence because she contaminated the DNA sample at her workbench. I think last time we was talking about that, we ought to go through, and that'd probably be a good thing to do one day, is go through and just list all of the things that happened in the Steven Avery case that was precedent. You know, like the first time this has ever happened, or first time, you know, because that's another aspect to it, not just the things that we talked about earlier. Is there's a lot of things that happened in this case that hadn't happened before, and then I always find it surprising how quickly they got the EDTA test ready for trial when they had to recalibrate all their equipment and everything because they had completely stopped doing that test. And Buting and Strain couldn't find anybody to even perform that test.
Pretty ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, with the FBI, I guess they can move mountains whenever they're called upon. But
absolutely, there's a lot of things with this case, and for the new people coming in, you can watch the documentary, but then if you start watching different people's videos that have been on here the past couple of years, and some of the stuff that gets brought up that's been found, that's when the newer people are gonna start seeing all the stuff that is now coming out that Kathleen has. There's just more. There's so much more after season 2 that's been found out.
Right. I've always, and the reason why I started my channel talking about the Steven Avery case, and I've told y'all before, but just in case there's anybody that doesn't know, I've always been fascinated with the forensic evidence side of it. And Zellner's even mentioned that at this point, somebody could confess to the murder of Teresa Halbach and they would still find a way to discredit that confession. So in her words and her views, she thinks that forensic evidence is the only thing that's going to prove that Steven Avery did not commit this murder. I tend to agree with that, unless you could literally find something, a bombshell so huge.
Audio,
something like that. But forensics, and I've always been fascinated with that in this case, is because, for instance, the bullet, okay? You take the bullet and you say this bullet, and we covered that earlier, been shot through Teresa Halbach, but yet you can clearly see anybody with any brain can see that that bullet was shot through a wall, okay? And then you take the key. The key had none of Teresa Halbach's DNA on the key anywhere, but yet Steven Avery had an astronomical amount of his own DNA on the key. So the owner of the key, no DNA.
Yeah, but when was the key found now? That's
the 7th or the 8th, just assuming from one of their many reports.
Search one thing, and off of the summary report says completely different. Why are simple things like that contradicting each other?
I don't remember, Milbillie. I know they tested the nanograms, and maybe Silkman knows this. They tested how many nanograms they got off of the hood latch, but is there an actual number for how many nanograms they found on the key?
I've asked that question before, Jamie. Okay. Hopefully Dr. Silkman can put that in the comment section, but I remember somebody saying that it was also a high amount on the key. I just don't know the nanograms. I know on the hood latch it was 1.8 nanograms. And in the 15 tests that Zellner ran on the hood latch, she was getting like 0.15, 0.13, 0.30. And Avery supposedly, and we have our own theories on that, what happened, but supposedly when they tested it, he had 1.8 nanograms of touch DNA on the hood latch. It's absolutely absurd. With no fingerprints anywhere on the vehicle and no touch DNA or blood on the steering wheels or gear shifts or anything like that. All the evidence is in the wrong places.
Hey, Silkman, do you have time to come on? He's in here. Might see if he can touch on that for you there for a little bit.
Yeah, I'll bring him. I definitely would like to bring him in. I would have to send him the link.
Yep. We'll see if he says if he can come on.
Okay. I'm going to send him the link right now. Milbillie and Jamie.
Yes, sir.
Bring up something while I'm trying to do this. I can't multitask.
I already did.
Yeah. That's all right. People can wait for a couple minutes. Yeah, I guess for me, I honestly think that as far as the DNA, I think that did come from the groin swab, is my personal opinion.
I do too. It's the DNA expert that I spoke with. He which I couldn't ask him that because I didn't, like I said, I don't want him to be having to make the judgment calls on a different case. So I just asked him questions in general. And one of the questions I asked him was, if you swabbed a growing, what's the average amount of DNA you'd get from a growing? And he said 2 to 3 nanograms. So it's 1.8. So like you're saying, I think they relabeled the growing swab as hood latch swab.
Silkman's dealing with his dog still. Sorry about that,
right.
dude.
That's right.
That sucks. I've been there with having 2 dogs have seizures. It's pretty scary.
Well, Milbillie, and Jamie, I appreciate having y'all on.
No problem.
Hey, anytime.
I just wanted to get on here and do something. I think I seen where somebody said that Eric Jose is about to be going on. I wasn't aware of that. I hadn't seen anybody really doing anything, and I just wanted to discuss this case some more. And Milbillie, I always enjoy having you and Jamie on. So
it's fun, especially on a weekend when many of us are locked in. I know not everybody is, but even if we got to be out, we're only going out if it's a necessity. So it's something to do and take up time. And I know there's a lot of people just sitting around looking for things to watch.
Well, if anybody, I highly doubt anybody in the comment section hasn't watched Making a Murderer, but if there is somebody there that hasn't, you really need to. I mean, you won't regret it. So, but
and then start catching some of the YouTube videos after that.
Have any of y'all watched Tiger King? I haven't watched it, but I mean, apparently it's hot on the market right now.
I've been essential.
I have been too, Milbillie. Trust me, I've been having to go to work every day all week.
I have watched it. If you're short on time, the drug one is only 4 episodes, so you can get through that one pretty quickly, and it'll blow your mind. Tiger King, man, I don't know.
The interview.
I don't know what
people that were on there.
Say that again.
So I watched the interview with one of the people. I don't know who he was on the documentary, but yeah.
For Tiger King?
Yeah. I have not watched the Tiger King. I've watched interview with one of the people that were on the Tiger King.
Yeah, it's comical, man.
The turtle expert.
The turtle expert?
I don't know. That's what he was talking about. He was brought into the documentary thinking that it was going to be about people that do habitat for animals and stuff, and they got tricked into whatever the documentary. I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched it.
But there's also a murder that's involved in Tiger King. That's pretty interesting. I'm not going to give you guys too much. The funny thing is everybody is talking about it. That's why I put Jamie Exotic on there. The main character is he's a gay dude that turns straight guys gay with meth and tigers, man.
All right.
Well,
it's messed up.
Like I mentioned earlier, I didn't know about this case, but I just want to give it a shout out to, Travis says the West Memphis 3 on Oxygen. And he brought up about that drug show too. He said, suggest everybody watch that. But if you haven't seen Murder in the
that don't even get the spotlight that they need.
Oh, absolutely. If you haven't seen Murder in the Bayou and you got time for 5 episodes and stuff like this, Steven Avery case or corruption blows your mind, that one will really blow your mind. I don't know if you watched it yet, Milbillie, but it's crazy.
No, isn't that one? Wasn't that a Showtime one or?
Yeah, it was either Showtime or Stars or something. I think it was Showtime. But
yeah, that's why I haven't seen it. I'll have to see if it's on, if I can find it on Prime or or something like that.
Yeah, you should be able to find it. Might be on YouTube. I think it's on YouTube too. I'm not sure. But I appreciate everybody. Carla says, yes, I want to watch Murder in the Bayou. You need to. Trust me, it's good. I appreciate everybody coming on, and we'll go ahead.
Good talking to all y'all.
Absolutely. Milbillie, you got anything you want to add, or that's it? Well, happy birthday, and I'm sorry that me and you have to be essential and go to work while Jamie gets to kick back and relax. And
I'm just gonna sit back and be exotic, man.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody coming on. I appreciate everybody tuning in. If you haven't subscribed to Milbillie's channel,
don't forget the Mammothon.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Mammothon is on the 24th, 25th, and 26th. It's a 48-hour event. Would be nonstop YouTube coverage of Making a Murderer. And it's I wasn't a part of it last year. Fortunately, I had the honor of being a part of this year. Milbillie is going to be on there. And
I've yet to. I don't have anything planned at the moment.
Right. I got a few people that's I'm planning on coming on. It's going to be good. Everybody has great guests. So make sure that on April 24th, 25th, 26th, at any time during those days, you can watch your favorite YouTuber talk about Making a Murderer. Tomorrow night, I'll be on talking about the Samantha case. And if you haven't subscribed to Milbillie's channel, go do so. He has tons of great content. I mean, all kinds of different things, from jail calls to dispatch calls to almost anything you want to know. He's constantly coming out with stuff. And I appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. And y'all have a good night. Try to stay safe.